You could buy a shotgun through the mail. Gas lines stretched for blocks. And believe it or not, we thought letting kids play with lead was totally fine. The 1970s weren't just wild, they were wonderfully strange. From exploding cars to shag carpets you had to rake like a lawn, it was a decade full of details you almost can't believe were real. But here's the thing, we didn't just survive it, we loved it. So what made the 70s so unforgettable, so bizarre, and so us? Let's take a trip back and uncover 15 forgotten things that truly made the 1970s one of a kind. You didn't need a license, a background check, or even a trip to the store. All you needed was the Sears catalog and a few bucks. Right there between lawnmowers and typewriters, you could order a .22 rifle, a shotgun, or even a revolver, and have it delivered to your doorstep. No adult supervision required. Back then, a teenage boy flipping through pages of firearms was just another Saturday afternoon. Some families even wrapped them up as Christmas gifts. It sounds wild now, but it was all part of a culture that treated guns like just another household tool, no more serious than a power drill. But the 1970s weren't just about what you could buy, they were about what you couldn't find, like gas. And when the pumps ran dry, that's when things really started to unravel. Lines at gas stations weren't just long, they were chaos. Some folks waited 3 hours only to be turned away when the pumps ran dry. To control the madness, cities introduced the odd-even rule. If your license plate ended in an odd number, you could only buy gas on odd-numbered days. Tempers flared. Fistfights broke out. People brought lawn chairs, thermoses, even radios, just to survive the wait. And if you ran out of gas midline, you pushed. Looking back, it felt like the world was running on fumes. But somehow, through all that frustration, we found a strange sense of togetherness. And speaking of things that looked fine until they exploded, let's talk about the Ford Pinto. It looked like the perfect little car for the times, affordable, compact, and stylish. But under that shiny exterior was a fatal flaw. The gas tank was placed so poorly that a low-speed rear-end collision could cause the car to burst into flames. Ford knew. Internal memos revealed they calculated it was cheaper to settle lawsuits than fix the design. Over 20 people died. Many more were burned. And yet, people kept driving them. If you or someone you knew ever owned a Pinto, tell us what you remember in the comments. Did it feel safe, or were you just hoping not to get tapped from behind? Because in the 70s, safety wasn't always the priority, especially when leaded gasoline was still king. We rolled the windows down, turned up the AM radio, and breathed in poison. Back then, leaded gasoline was in nearly every car, pumping toxic fumes into the air with every mile. The science was already raising red flags, but the oil and auto industries pushed back hard. Children absorbed it faster than adults. Studies later linked it to lower IQ, hyperactivity, even violent behavior. And yet we had no clue. We just knew our engines purred smoother with high-octane leaded. Gas stations proudly advertised "contains lead" like it was a selling point. And for a while, it was. Of course, if you think breathing in lead was bad, wait until you hear where people used to smoke without a second thought. There was always a cloud of smoke in the air, and somehow it just felt normal. Ashtrays were on every table, even in doctors' offices and family diners. You'd walk into a room and the scent of a fresh cigarette would hit you before the hello. We didn't think twice about it. Your dad might light one up in the car with the windows rolled, and no one complained, not even the kids in the back seat. That was just how life was. Looking back, the smell clung to everything: coats, curtains, even school books. But in a strange way, that smell still brings memories flooding back. And speaking of memories, do you remember collecting green stamps with Mom, one book at a time? Every grocery trip came with a bonus, a handful of S&H Green Stamps, sticky and full of promise. Mom would pull out that thick stamp book from the kitchen drawer, carefully licking and pressing each one onto the pages. It took weeks, sometimes months, to fill a book. But oh, the joy of finally flipping through the catalog, pointing to a new toaster, blender, or folding chair like it was treasure. Sometimes we'd ride the bus together just to visit the redemption center. No rush, no scrolling, just time with Mom and a sense of earning something real. It may seem simple now, but back then, saving stamps felt like building dreams, one square at a time. Long before Facebook, we had our own way of staying connected, the CB radio. It sat right on the dash with a long antenna and a mic that made you feel important just holding it. Everyone had a handle, a fun nickname like Midnight Cowboy or Sunflower Mama. You'd say things like 10-4 good buddy or what's your 20? And it felt like you were part of a secret club. Truckers used it to warn each other about speed traps. Teenagers used it to flirt, joke, and feel like they had a voice. It was raw, unfiltered, and full of life. And when the signal came through, crackly but clear, it felt like magic. That kind of connection, we didn't scroll for it. We tuned in. Back in the 70s, kids didn't need TikTok to rebel. They had wacky packages. These sticker cards took well-known products and twisted them into hilarious parodies. Crust instead of crest, or Gadzuka instead of bazooka. We'd trade them at school, stick them on lunchboxes, trapper keepers, bedroom doors, anywhere we weren't supposed to. It felt a little sneaky, a little smart, and a lot of fun. It was our way of saying we see what the grown-ups are selling, and we're not buying it. They were gross, clever, and completely addicting. And for a few cents a pack, you got a laugh, a collectible, and a weird little slice of childhood that still makes us smile today. It started with a single blip, a tiny square bouncing back and forth on a black screen. Pong didn't look like much, but the moment you turned that dial and hit the ball, you were hooked. Then came Space Invaders, bright, buzzing, and relentless. We crowded into arcades, skating rinks, and pizza joints, pumping in quarters just to keep those aliens from landing. It wasn't just a game, it was competition. Your initials on the leaderboard meant you ruled the room. And suddenly the screen had power. It drew us in, thrilled us, kept us coming back. Today's kids tap and swipe. But back then, we twisted knobs, mashed buttons, and lost ourselves one quarter at a time. Before reality TV became loud, scripted, and over the top, there was something quiet, honest. In 1973, PBS aired An American Family, and nothing on television had ever felt so real. Cameras followed the Loud family through dinners, arguments, moments of silence, and moments that cut deep. We saw divorce unfold in real time. We saw a son come out as gay on national television. That was unheard of. It wasn't flashy, but it made millions stop and look at their own living rooms a little differently. For many, it was the first time TV reflected life. Not a fantasy, not a performance, just life. And in a decade filled with bright lights and loud sounds, this quiet show left one of the deepest echoes. The 70s had a texture, and it was fuzzy. Shag carpets were everywhere, in every color you can imagine. Deep orange in the den, avocado green in the hallway, mustard yellow in the bedroom. You didn't walk on them, you sank into them. And if you dropped a Lego, good luck finding it. We even had a special rake to comb the carpet, fluffing it up like a pet before company came over. And the fuzz didn't stop at the floor. Long hair, sideburns, mustaches, big beards. It was the golden age of grooming gone wild. Looking back, it was warm, cozy, and a little ridiculous. But honestly, we wouldn't have had it any other way. Getting in shape in the 70s didn't mean lifting weights. It meant standing still and letting the machine do the work. Everyone knew someone who had one, that big buzzing belt you'd strap around your waist. It jiggled, it wobbled, it made a racket, but we were told it would melt the fat right off. There were rowing machines, twist boards, and those spring-loaded contraptions you kept under the bed. TV ads promised results with just 10 minutes a day, and we believed it, because why not? Looking back, it was part workout, part theater, and all charm. We might laugh now, but there was something sweet about how hard we tried, without ever breaking a sweat. In 1971, the gates opened, and magic became real. Walt Disney World wasn't just a theme park, it was another world. For kids who'd only seen Mickey on a grainy black and white TV, walking down Main Street felt like stepping inside the screen. Families saved for months, packed station wagons, and made the long drive to Florida because it was worth it. The rides were thrilling, but it was the feeling that stayed with you. The music, the colors, the smiles from cast members who made you feel like the star. It was hot, crowded, and exhausting, and we loved every second of it. If you ever went, you remember, and if you didn't, you probably still dreamed about it. In the early 70s, no one made teenage hearts race like Donny Osmond. He had the smile, the hair, the voice, but it was the purple socks that drove fans wild. His mom gave each of her children a color to tell them apart. Donny got purple, and he kept wearing it on stage. Soon, concert crowds turned into seas of violet. Girls wore purple ribbons, purple shirts. Some even painted their shoes to match. When he walked out in those socks, the screams could knock the wind out of a stadium. It wasn't just about the music. It was about belonging to something, about feeling like he saw you in that giant crowd. Purple wasn't just his color. For a while, it was ours too. The shark was back, and so was the craze. Jaws 2 hit theaters in 1978, and even if the movie wasn't as terrifying as the first, the merch made up for it. Lunch boxes, board games, t-shirts, trading cards, bubble gum, you name it, it had a shark on it. We begged our parents for anything with that logo. Even if we hadn't seen the movie, we felt like we had. That giant fin on the packaging was all we needed. It wasn't just about the film, it was about being part of something everyone was talking about. Something bigger than ourselves. And maybe that's what the 70s gave us most. A million little moments that made us feel like we were right in the middle of something unforgettable. We just took a stroll down memory lane, through 15 little moments that made the 1970s truly unforgettable. If even one of them brought a smile to your face, you're part of something special. Share your own memories in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories from dear old America. Because the past isn't gone, it's just waiting to be remembered.